Yo, everyone, what is going on? It is Gen X Joe, and you are listening to the Youth Gone Mild podcast, where hairlines fade, but rock never does. We are here in the Wherever I May Roam studio today for a double dose of Denim Week, 4 interviews. Joining me today is Eric Fraser, guitarist for Corvus Lore. And yes, I said Corvus Lore, and that does mean raven. Now, if I would have known prior to me interviewing Eric from Corvus Lore and that it meant raven, me being from Pittsburgh and being a Steelers fan, I would have hesitated. I may have said no, but I was already deep into the commitment. I'm just kidding, Eric. Just kidding, man. Listen, Corvus Lore absolutely kicks ass. If you like early 90s into 2000 alternative rock, hard rock, then this band is for you. And I think it's really cool that these guys named themselves after a mysterious, dark, all-knowing bird of omen. And then they go and write emotionally powerful rock lyrics. And they have a new album coming out on June 26th, this week, just a few days away. Actually, it's tomorrow. What am I thinking? It's tomorrow, June 26th. This is going to be their third album release. And it's called Bury the Beauty. You know, that's kind of like I did back in 2003, 2004 with my frosted tips. Yeah, I have zero regrets with that because I had hair and I looked fucking awesome. Really, I did. Okay, maybe a few regrets. Anyway, and today we are talking about artistic development, the story behind the music, and where Corvus Lore is headed next. So for those that are still craving and loving early 90s and into the early 2000s alternative hard rock music, this interview is for you. And this band is for you. And this episode is brought to you by Lisa Gandia of Celebrity Events. Listen, if you're an artist and you have a show or a talent, anything, check Lisa out. She is bound to get you booked somewhere that meets your needs. Visit her at celebrityeventsrock.com. That is celebrityeventsrock.com. All right, everyone, pull on your flannel, put down the Advil, crank the volume up, because Lord knows we have to these days. And let's do this. My interview with Eric Fraser of Corvus Lore here on the Youth Gone Mild podcast. Hey, Eric, man, how you doing?
Hey, Joe. I don't think we've met before. Have we?
I don't think so.
This must be a new connection from Jody.
It is. So
Cool. Where are you based out of?
Pittsburgh area.
Oh, man, you're all the way on the East Coast. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm in a small town called Salinas in California, and it's about 50 miles from the Bay Area, something like that, a little bit south. Have you heard the track or any of the music?
The newest one I've heard, yes. One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to hear a little bit about you and how you got your start into the music industry.
Cool. So I started, well, I mean, in terms of like playing guitar, I've been doing it for about 45 years. Music industry wise, I've been in a number of bands over the past 25 years. Started out in a Latin rock band in the year 2000 with my brother and a couple other people. We were signed to Sony EMI Music. Recorded an album in Spain, did the whole video, radio circuit, TV shows, all that fun stuff. Did a couple CDs, and then came back to California and ended up doing a couple of tribute bands. So like in the past 10 years, Started out in a foreigner tribute band and did that for about 5 or 6 years. And some of those guys migrated on into a tribute to Foo Fighters, and that's kind of how I came across at least one or two of the guys in Corvus Lore.
When you guys first got together, did you feel like an instant chemistry, or was it something you're like, hey man, let's try to build something here?
Oh man, that's a great question. Um, well, at least the bass player Mike Oneto and I had become friends from doing these tribute bands together. But we all were, generally speaking, located in the same area, which is in Gilroy, California. At that time, we this band has been together for 10 years. But when we first got together, it was mainly just jamming cover songs that we all, were into, just to see if there was something there. But truth be told, Mike and I had heard a demo tape from our singer Ryan, and he at that time was, I think he was going to the same church. And so, long story short, we all got together because we had a vibe, at least in terms of a friendship. And yeah, and just basically everybody had a mutual respect for, what you could do on the instrument. Ryan has an excellent voice. And I think we were off to the races with our first album, like within that first year.
Now you were talking about Mike, and I know he's no longer with the band, and you guys brought in Johan Hill, or affectionately known as Red Cup Man. How's he gelling with the band?
Oh man, Johan, you can call him Yo as well. Red Cup, he has like the stripe in his beard. And actually, if you look at pictures of his bass when he holds it up to the side, the tone and volume knobs on his bass are actually red cups. Um,
Oh wow.
and he's been great. He's actually in, like five or six different bands. So he's always out there, doing all different styles of music. Turns out when I first met him, our kinship was so close that I was asking about his family and whatnot, and found out that his dad was actually my guitar teacher when I was 12. So I knew Johan's dad before Johan was even born. We live cities apart. We're not even in the same like locale. Yeah, so that part was a real trip. And but man, Johan brings a lot of energy, excellent bass skills, smart instincts. In fact, we got him on a couple of tracks on the new album, so we're happy to actually get him recorded and available, like to be a part of this new project.
I know there's that hard rock vibe, but there's also that, I don't know, like alternative. I was trying to figure out who you guys sound like, and I know you're your own band, and I'm sorry I do this, but I always try to look at new bands and try to see who they sound like. And the one thing that I came up with was Velvet Revolver.
Yeah. I mean, I do that too. It's hard not to, especially if you're in this business or a musician, and you hear something, you naturally want to try to, decompose it, or just if there's a familiarity, then you're going to want to say, well, why is it familiar? Why does it, stick in my brain or sound like something I've heard before? Definitely, Velvet Revolver is probably pretty close because, I've heard Stone Temple Pilots, I've heard a number of different bands, and I think you're onto something. I mean, it's no mistake that it kind of sounds like, mid '90s, early 2000s. It's kind of like a revival rock, bass type vibe. But yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I think anything that sounds kind of familiar is. I mean, everything's been done before, right? So we're in good company.
Hey, speaking of good company, man, you guys have shared the stage with some of the biggest names out there: Tesla, Richie Kotzen, Dizzy Reed from GNR, Eric Martin from Mr. Big.
For a few of those artists, it was definitely doing direct support at some of the smaller clubs out in the LA area. Certainly, Richie Kotzen, man, his band is intense, and he is certainly a formidable musician. In fact, I've never seen a guitar player play like him before. And In terms of like the larger venues, Tesla was just a dream come true. It was great timing for us. They were getting ready for a residency out in Las Vegas about 3 years ago, and I think the band hadn't been doing much gig wise or rehearsing, so they put this show together out in Redding, California, at the Civic Auditorium, and our label made a connection out with their management, and it all aligned. I was super stoked to do it, mainly because I'm a fan. I'd certainly seen them when I was like 18 or 19 years old, and was kind of a trip to be actually opening up for them, being a fan for so long. And yeah, their entire team was really nice to us. Yeah, it's like a one big family out here.
I didn't realize until I started doing podcasting. You think you know about bands, but I never realized how many great bands came from that area out in San Francisco and the California area.
Yeah, it's definitely fertile ground. There still is a rock scene happening, at least in terms of like the Bay Area. I'm guessing Southern California as well. Anything from like thrash metal, all the way to hard rock and the style of music that we do. I see all kinds of music out here. Actually, some of my friends are in a country pop band, and so I'll go check them out a lot of times too. But yeah, no shortage of bands in this area.
Now let's talk about the new album, Bury the Beauty. It's your third
Okay.
album. How did the creative process feel this time around? Was it a little different compared to your debut and the other album?
Yeah, it actually was. Mainly because the first album we did, we had 10 songs together. We knew we wanted to do a direct to tape kind of analog thing. And so we went into the studio and just recorded it all live, like with very, very minimal overdubs. And it sounds great. It was, our first effort. And then by the time we got to the second album, Lucida, that's when we moved over to working with Tim Narducci from Systematic and a number of different bands. And, anyways, as a producer, he really, I think, elevated and highlighted the best parts of what we do in terms of, guitar-based rock, and really shining a light on Ryan's vocals. Tim can put together a killer drum mix. In fact, that's, even though I play guitar, that's like one of the main things I gravitate towards is how do the drums sound. But in terms of Bury the Beauty, that was the third album has been a much longer process. In fact, we started working on that album in late 2024, and it took some time to really pick the songs that we thought were going to really show growth and maturity for the band. And thankfully, the 9 songs we landed on are all completely different. In fact, our first single was called Feather Me Through. We did a video for it, and it's definitely more of a hard driving song. I think you've already heard our next single, Promise You, which is still driving, but it's a much different vein, and I think it's showing a different side.
You used a keyword a little bit ago, gravitate. And it takes a lot for me to gravitate towards new music. As I was kind of referencing earlier, I'm still that guy that's stuck in the 80s hair metal and hard rock and early 90s. And my whole
Sure.
my whole goal of this podcast was to discover new bands and new music, but yet, of course, it has to be rock. But I gravitated immediately towards Promise You, man. And the lyrics, holy shit, man. Listen, that one line in there when the
Oh, this song came from Ryan, our lead singer, both lyrically and musically. The lyrical content, I would agree with you. Like there's some lines in there that are definitely pretty sticky, and it's all about Ryan's basic covenant to being there for his family. So both with his wife and his 2 kids. And in fact, I think that first line is basically like his experience of seeing his newborn daughter for the first time. And once you make, I don't know if you have kids, but once you make that connection, you get this feeling of you have to be, someone who is there in the lives of your family forever. That's the lyrical content. Musically, it was definitely written on an acoustic guitar. In fact, the way the song starts, it's just Ryan's voice, his acoustic guitar, and some thunderous floor toms happening, and then the rest of the band kind of kicks in by the time we get to the first verse.
Well, I'll tell you, the video also for Promise You, man, it plays with like that vulnerability.
Again, man, Ryan is definitely a multi-dimensional talent. So he for most of our videos will come up with kind of a shot list and basically the idea for the video. This was directed by Mike Sloat. And Mike is somebody that we've done all of our videos with, from starting with Boxing Ballerina all the way up to Promise You. And so Ryan definitely had the first piece of it figured out, what he wanted to do in terms of like being out in the water and uh, getting his vocal takes from there, and then just having things draped out into the water that would reappear once we get to the theater, which was the San Sebastiani Theater out in Santa Rosa, which was it's a historic theater. It still shows movies and does shows, and so we were able to rent that out for about 4 hours that day, and gathered a group of extras and friends and just tried to pull it all together.
Now, with the new album coming out, you guys were hinting of maybe touring beyond the California scene.
Well, it's a desire for the band. We've done many clubs out here in the Bay Area and in Southern California, and actually one of the best parts of getting to meet people like you, Joe, and other people that I've talked with in either promoting the song or past songs is there. I think there's a desire to have newer rock bands, available to be, all across the country. I certainly would like to be able to, go out to the Midwest area, and maybe even as far as Pittsburgh. You never know, right?
Right?
And touring being what it is, it certainly these days is more of a cost thing. But I think that the potential for doing just kind of fly-in dates and picking and choosing, hopefully getting on board with some bigger bands. And I have a hit list of people I would love to connect the band with, and that's another job in and of itself. But yeah, the desire is definitely there.
Can you give us a rundown of what a live concert feels like for Corvus Lore?
Well, it certainly is 100% authentic, and we don't do any kind of backing tracks, backing vocals, anything that would like sweeten the sound that isn't just the band playing live. We're still a band that uses loud guitar amplifiers, so it's some people might call it like dinosaur, methodology, but I can't foresee myself wanting to be on a stage where I'm plugging my guitar into a box and then the rest of it is just kind of front of house. So Corvus Lore, it definitely is going to be a heavy melodic rock show, and I hope that if you ever get a chance to see us live, that you're going to see that a lot of the songs are different, engaging, high energy. And man, I would love for anybody listening to this podcast to hopefully check us out in the future.
Man, I second that right there, man. Like I said, the key word for me was gravitating, and I absolutely gravitated to you, man. And it blew me away with your songs, man. And now this is going back like 3 years, and I was reading up on you guys. Soundwaves TV called you guys way back when Bay Area's buzzworthy band in 2023.
Yeah. Um, what it did do was connect us with other bands. In fact, I think when that quote was pulled, it was at a time when we were first getting, started doing gigs together as this lineup. And I remember the person who's the host of Soundwaves is also like the program director and one of the main DJs at a rock station here in San Jose called 1077 The Bone. And I think that we just kind of caught her off guard, and she was like, "Man, how come I haven't heard of you guys or seen you out?" And it was because we were in various other bands, and this was like our first time getting out there. But certainly, I'm going to take that. If someone says you're buzzworthy, you just want to kind of hold on to it, and it's fleeting. It's of the moment, but it was certainly nice to hear. I don't know if I would I don't know if I would consider Promise You to be like traditional hard rock, but it is kind of like of that Chris Cornell vein, and certainly has like a heaviness to it. Um, but man, wait till you hear the full album. I really hope you get a chance to do that, because there are songs that just are sound nothing like the other songs on the lineup. In fact, one song we have towards the end of the album is a 6 minute song, which is not necessarily radio friendly, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, we don't care. We just want to capture this moment and try to like really show a song that has like a lot of growth to it, and different instruments and pianos and mellotrons and all kinds of just production. And so like in that instance, we didn't want to like short ourselves by just trimming something to make it radio friendly. There's some songs in the album that sound like punk rock, and so yeah, there's a whole different spectrum, I think, from this third album.
So you guys are 10 years in. You've grinded it out beyond the buzzworthy stage, and you're getting your name out there.
For us to have the material that we have, especially with the collection of the songs on the three albums, it's the kind of thing where you just want to get out and show it to people and play it live. And I told you earlier, Joseph, that I used to do the tribute band thing, which is fine. It does mean that you're a known entity. People know what the songs are, right? Club owners are more willing to bring you in because there might be a draw from that kind of common thing of being in a tribute. But I've said this in other interviews before, that I would much rather play far fewer gigs and win over people on the songs that we write, rather than just being like a stage performer that gets to play to thousands of people because we're doing some kind of tribute act.
Now,
Yeah.
as for those who may not be familiar with Corvus Lore, where can they find you at on social media?
We primarily hang out on Instagram and a little bit of Facebook, not so much on TikTok or on X. All of our videos are at corvuslore.com. You can catch us certainly on YouTube and Bands in Town. I think we're pretty much hitting them all, Spotify as well.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I want to thank you for your time today. I appreciate you being a guest here on the Youth Gone Mount podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. It was really nice to get to meet you, and I hope we get a chance to talk together another time soon.
Awesome, man. Well, you take care and have a great day, and enjoy the weather out on the West Coast.
All right, you as well, man. Be well. I'll talk to you later.
And just like that, another episode of the Youth Gone Mild podcast disappears into the void, like our keys or the remote control. And a huge thank to Eric Fraser of Corvus Lore for their latest album, Bury the Beauty. Album drops tomorrow, June 26th. So hopefully there's no need to circle that on your calendar, because it's only one day away. And if your memory is that bad, God help you. Getting old sucks. But if you have to set 26 phone reminders that it's coming out on June 26th, then just go right ahead and do so. It's going to be available on all major streaming and download platforms through Valley of Fire Records. So whether you're a Spotify person, an Apple Music person, or still somehow buying digital downloads like it's 2009, then you know what? You got it covered. No excuses. Check out Bury the Beauty by Corvus Lore. And hopefully, as Eric said, Corvus Lore will be touring sometime in the not too distant future. So if you want to see Corvus Lore bring Bury the Beauty to a stage near you, keep an eye on their social medias. They're out there everywhere on all those major platforms as well. Thank you to my sponsor, Lisa Gandia of Celebrity Events. And thanks for listening in to a double dose of Denim Week 4 interviews here on the Youth Gone Mild podcast, where hairlines fade, but rock never does. And I'm Gen X Joe, the host of the Youth Gone Mild podcast. And remember, rock loud, live proud. Peace out. Props everyone for listening.